Hey guys, just a welcome to all of Ivan's supporters and Cosmic Crypto family. I'm joined by, of course, man who needs no introduction, Ivan. How you doing, buddy?
Thanks. Doing good.
Good. Nice. Well, as you can see, Ivan's moved into his new place. I've got a sore throat today, but I'm fine. So I thought we'd just do a nice short episode because Ivan and I have been talking off camera, and it seems like there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. Yeah, with Afghanistan and a potential timeline there. So before I start, people should go check out Ivan's videos. He's done a couple of recent ones that are being sort of deep dive into this stuff, and his channel is just great in general. So dive into that, and I'll link that below. But today, how about we channel Ascended Earth to try and get some knowledge and find out what's really going on.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
I'm good.
All
Sweet.
right. Yep. Okay. All right. Blessings.
Blessings.
Okay. Greetings. This is Ascended Earth. Blessings to you.
Blessings, Ascended Earth. Thank you for joining us. I just thought I'd open up by, asking about how the collective memory complex is of Earth, of our current timeline, and any sort of wisdom you'd like to give us at this moment in time.
Well, humans are getting a jolt of reality. So reality doesn't mean everyone has to go through a great amount of pain, but some will. So the Earth is ready to change. So many things will happen at once, not too much, but for some it'll be too much. More can always happen. But the Middle East is one day, of course, we'll find peace, but first it has to go through its darkness. And the agendas that cause that darkness have to be exposed, such as, government agencies and things of that kind. So you feel a lot of that sort of whistleblowing into your future, becoming, being leaked and become more known, which is going to cause a lot of scandals, but we don't have a timeline when that's going to occur.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And just to dig deeper into that, you know how we had the Iraqi war and Gulf War, and supposedly it was to do with, covert CIA programs and other ones to find more about the Stargates and many other relics in those lands. Are we going to see an aspect, maybe not as far into that of disclosure, but is this the first layer of the onion, finding out about, President Biden doing this ridiculous abandoning of Afghanistan?
Yes, it's a release to control, but also for much more to unravel. They're not going to start talking about Stargates, unlikely,
I thought
publicly. So. But there's a possible of the blame game of why this happened. And then that would go to the agencies, CIA. It's up in the air. It's not confirmed yet, of course, because it depends on if humans want to know. But yes, you feel like this will take some time for the deeper truths to come out. So this is just, yes, as you say, the onion, but not the core of it just yet.
I thought so.
But yes, this is a layer of it, yes.
Thank you. And just to dig deeper into that again, like with Afghanistan, do you feel this is happening because it grabs people's attention from the 3D perspective of war rather than, say, for example, something a lot darker and deeper like child trafficking or, child sacrifice and all these things? Do you feel it has to be something that's kind of mundane in a way, even though it's tragic what's going on with the soldiers and the families?
Well, yes, war has always been a distraction.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all about money, distraction, another business. So even now that it's still making business transactions currently, as you probably feel people flying around and all that. So, but yeah, the bank, you can say the banking is kind of moving away from there, not just yet. So, but yes, this is another revelation that you're going into.
Brilliant. And yeah, we've done some recent, or Ivan had done some recent channelings with some other beings, and they were talking about how this is like a marker. Afghanistan's a marker for many things to come. Is there anything you'd like to share from your perspective or any probable timelines?
Well, possible Lebanon will be next. Is still because Lebanon is going through a great deal of turmoil itself, and that needs to find some balance. it's showing corruption is there. How it can, Lebanon is actually quite peaceful. It's not perfect, but there are peaceful aspects of it that was very much disturbed.
Mm-hmm.
And we feel like eventually it will find its balance. Not yet, because it's the corruption there is very heavy. So it's if Afghanistan and even Iraq will probably come back into the front
Oh
lines
wow,
eventually.
really? Okay. And is there anything you're seeing for Iraq as well, or is it just to do with
Well,
corruption more?
that's your Babylon. So that's where the stargates most likely talk about Afghanistan. Iraq will find its way back into the news slowly. So,
Mm-hmm.
but this was built. This was set up for destruction. Exactly to fail.
Right. And so to talk on that does this go back without like trying to, guide this conversation too much, but it feels to me like they are trying to, the cabal, the powers that be, the useful idiots are now exposing Biden, which is interesting. So do you feel there's some energy around making him step down as a president and bringing someone else in? What's going on there?
There's high pressure there. Of course, that's like a hidden timeline, but some of you are seeing it clearly as likely inevitability. We see his health. Well, all we can say is his health will continue to decline. He'll still be alive, but they'll make it most likely you'll see some kind of event with that.
Right.
However it plays out.
And do you see that in the next, couple
soon.
Months? Very soon.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Soon. We're not seeing it. We're not seeing next year, but as you know, timelines shift. But you're already seeing the writing on the wall, because with him now, if he was sharper on the mind, making horrible decisions was so sharper, that'd be different. But he's not.
Yeah.
So that they're showing that they brought him up enough, and now they're taking him down notch by notch, as you can see.
Do you think this is Kamala Harris coming in as president, or is there anyone else?
Well, we can't comment on it completely but most likely, as you can see.
Right. And is the reason why you can't comment because of the Earth guides,
yes, it has to do with the future. Some of you are already tapping into it already, so just leave you. Now, Trump is still, he's like a second president. He's still behind the scenes. He does care about freedom, as you can tell. So he is like a shadow president.
Amazing. Yeah, that's what we always thought. We always thought he was still doing his thing. And, Trump is, from what I understand, he's taken many insurance policies for his own soul, his many clones and bodies. So he's a step ahead of the game, because people were talking about how there might be another threat against his life, and he might be taken out.
We feel like he'll survive. So what we're seeing, like the original Constitution, that's what he's connected to.
Right.
Yep. And Biden is part of more of the, as you know.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And just to shift it to the UK, one of the other superpowers in inverted commas that's in cahoots, where I live, we had these massive protests in London, which has there's been a few others a few months ago as well. But it's an anti-vaccination protest. And do you see like things boiling over in Europe and the UK?
Yes.
It's a good thing for us.
Yes, obviously protests don't always go as they'd like it to actually. But yes, it shows that Europe has had enough. I think Europeans, as you know, or English Europeans, however you want to word it. But
and it's
yes, it will make some because the British government just get tired of it. They're just tired of. It's like they're trying to do their Big Brother rule, which is true because a lot of Big Brother was based on them. So
absolutely.
The whole concept was actually to divert from that timeline. Yes, it's still here, but we feel like it's not as strong as it could be.
Right. Yeah, I totally agree. I obviously have experienced it myself with how, bureaucratic and how like autocratic it is as well, with controlling us in every sense of the word. And nothing makes sense. But just to go further into that, we talked previously with, I think it was the blockchain consciousness and other beings about a potential regime change as well in the UK, with Boris Johnson and maybe some other players moving away. Do you still see that, and what's its significance to us with our liberation?
Well, Boris only will happen when we see a scandal. Scandal has to occur, and then he'll step down if they want him out of there, because they want to keep him around for a while, unless he decides to retire. But if they're going to kick him out just out of nowhere, it'll have to be a scandal of some kind.
And when you say they, I take it we're talking about just the powers that be, the cabal.
Yes.
Is there any
Yes.
particular faction or any part of the world that's really pulling the strings here?
Rothschild is part. Of course, there's other names that don't want to be named, but Rothschild is
Of course.
Rothschild, of course, very much runs the British government.
The usual suspects.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, there's always others that are hidden, but Rothschild doesn't seem to mind getting that attention because they're kind of used to it now.
Yeah. Yeah, and do you see? There was another psychic I have a lot of respect for. You know, she's been. I disagree with this, but she seems to think there's a potentiality of UK government officials coming to our houses for the people who haven't been vaccinated. Do you see that as a likelihood? Or
no, but they are thinking about it. So that's what they want to do. Now she's experiencing that in another reality. To her, it's real.
Yeah.
Now think
That's
about
the thing.
that.
Yeah, I always thought that, and this is a great point. I would love to hear, your perspective. Being an ascended Earth, we are very connected to you, and obviously we're aspiring to go down that path as in the best way and seamless way as possible. This comes down to our own discernment. Is there anything you can share with us? Like, we listen to all these psychics and mediums and even our own visions and our guides, our spirit guides. Is there anything you can say to us that has been very beneficial for your people, for the people of Ascended Earth, like with really tapping into the truth?
Well, there's always going to be different versions of the truth. It's like a psychic medium, or they're going through their, emotions, their reality. So if they see, vaccinations everywhere, as I said, they're going through it. Some are always going to see the future because a lot of this is just to keep themselves safe. Because they actually, most likely, everyone sees it, but some are seers, but they get blocked from it because they can get astrally attacked. Now, if you have no attention, like no one's paying attention to what you say, you probably see it very easily.
Yeah.
But if you have an audience, it's like it's just for your own well-being, really, when it comes down.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think it's, I don't really pay much attention to the political world these days, or even vaccinations, really. Of course, like, one needs to know how to, circumvent and navigate these things, especially in the UK. But really, it's distancing yourself from that consciousness, because that's a collective consciousness in itself, right? Just tapping into that news and that fear-based news, even if it's awakened news, But thank you for sharing that. And just to go further into it, is there any other markers that we should look out for being in a positive timeline? Are there any events, like, for example, Biden stepping down, or anything else that you see that you can share?
Well, if Biden does step down, most likely, as you see in the writing on the wall, we still see the predictions of Trump being still president is technically true, but it all depends on perspective, because he is, intervening where he can. And this Biden, so just don't get pulled into negativity if another person replaces Biden, and you don't get too gloom and doom about it. Yes, it's going to be darkness. It's going to be a lot of change, but a lot of this is just for humanity to find itself. Like, remove a lot of the life, daily life rituals, and just for the body to just basically slow down. So I have to do this. I have to do that. It's for the simplify your reality, actually. And you have to break things down. So Afghanistan is a form of it. It's removing the manipulation from the US. Obviously, it's still there, but it is publicly, ritually removing it. So
yeah, that's good. And do you feel this is, even with reflecting on the experience of the evolution of humans in Ascended Earth, do you feel this is because humanity has just been too mind controlled, too asleep for so long? There's this backlog of energy and blockages that just need to be purged.
Yes. Just, now with Trump, he still could have been public president, but he has to do what Biden's doing. Take troops out of Afghanistan, have it be a disaster. How would that,
So it's like Biden's taking the hit for the team.
You can say that,
Well, he deserves it. And
it's another way. Yeah. And Biden has a lot of criminal energies connected. So he's kind of clearing his own karma, sort of.
Yeah. And speaking of Hunter Biden, his son, he's I mean, there's so much evidence of what he's doing, which is
Right.
just horrendous. I won't go into too much detail, but is this going to come back into the mainstream, into the collective, rather than mainstream
Well,
news?
you notice, I mean, similar to the Clintons, we don't see mass arrests just yet. People aren't ready for it because people look up to these people. Maybe not Hunter Biden, but it just shows how they control, as you can see, the criminal control, how they still live among you,
Mm-hmm.
even after all the things they've done. Broke international law, especially George W. Bush, the same situation,
Mm-hmm.
criminal law. I mean, many in Europe want to actually throw them in jail. What
Yeah.
happened to Iraq and Afghanistan?
Yeah.
But it shows you the darkness. So slowly you become more aware of the darkness that's keeping them in power. Some of you will notice that more clearly. It
Mm-hmm.
does go to the government agencies where it's just a web, just like a VIP club. It's a VIP club of like diplomats that you can't do anything with. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like that.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. And just to shift it to Australia and New Zealand, there's been a lot of lockdowns there over like one COVID case, which is ridiculous. Is there anything you can share? And I also did see, speaking of leaders, the New Zealand prime minister was caught smoking crack cocaine on a video. So,
Yes,
like, you know,
that's good.
this is, yeah. So, is that a marker as well of what is to come with those
Yeah,
people
yeah.
being liberated
More
there?
disclosure leaks. Everything's a leak.
Mhm.
Immediately. Yeah, they have their camera on, they're doing something they should not be doing. Even same thing in California where everybody has to wear a mask and the government is not going by any of the rules.
Yeah.
Things like that. It's just, are people ready to allow more of this type of criminal, the VIP group, to be disconnected from that, to have that come down? People aren't understanding because it's so hidden. We are going to a path of it being slowly revealed.
Mm-hmm.
So Australia, you're just taking advantage of the people, as you can see. Yes, the elites are living well.
Yeah.
Yes, they have their
Yeah. It's
cocaine.
terrible.
And slowly, in New Zealand, yeah, New Zealand's being hit pretty heavy. As you, that shows you how much narcissistic darkness is there. They just don't care.
They don't. Yeah.
It's a wake up call for many people. It's like they're looking for a prison. Well, you are technically in one right now.
Yeah. It's so interesting. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. The collective consciousness of different countries and states. Like, for example, the UK, I can say this, they're very afraid of being against the status quo, or they're very afraid of speaking their mind. Whereas
Yes.
Australia, they have like this prison mentality, not everyone, but they almost love, oh, yes, sir, no, sir, you know, 3 bags full, sir. So they want to follow the rules. The US is a bit more into liberty, into freedom of speech. But of course, there's the other side of that too. Is there anything you can comment on there? Are there any pivotal countries to this world changing? Is there any breakthroughs in UK or US? Where would it be?
Well, it's like you said with the leaks, with many, those in power showing their true colors. It's up to the people to tap into just if they want to leave, they'll find a way to leave, or they want to stay there and wake up others, and that's a lot that has to do with it too. It just many are mentally programmed, as you can tell. So it's classic tale. It's like a college, a school. It's like don't go to that school. It's like you can always graduate by just leaving, getting out of there. But it's, of course, if you wanted to leave, not everyone can leave, because if you can't leave, like Australia, it's like I got nowhere to go. Well, that's what you need to process and learn, and you can still awaken, but just realize how sheep reality truly is. So it's for your own, internal, spiritual, enlightenment.
And thank you. And just to go into some of the other changes as well, we obviously have this big hurricane about to hit New Orleans.
Yeah.
Are there any other big natural disasters? And what's from your perspective, do you see visually the changes, the releases of energy that's good for Gaia, good for our Earth from a natural disaster compared to like a false flag or something else?
Well, like New Orleans has so much darkness connected to it. Magic.
Yep. I felt it.
It's magic, black magic. It's very, very powerful, ritualistic, yes, evil. And it gets purged every now and then, as you can see. And others suffer for it. Because it's difficult to heal something like that.
Yeah.
it's so poisoned into the United States, and many politicians go there to get programmed. A lot of the darkness of the U.S. A lot of it comes. There's a lot of Britain there also. A lot of
Yeah.
different countries. Britain's very connected
France,
there.
Britain, it's a real colony. When I went there, it's obviously still got that
Yeah.
British European, architecture and consciousness. Yeah.
So when New Orleans, it's mostly New Orleans. That's why it's happening. When it starts to lift all its darkness, that won't happen. You will have no hurricanes like that. Much of the hurricanes are like teachers.
Mm.
It's cleansing, it's purging. It's like, yes, there's manipulation that comes in, but Mother Nature still intervenes. It's like if humanity needs this, they have a category 3 hurricane, but it needs a category 5 instead. So the earth can actually engage it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's almost like Gaia is countering for all the masquerading and slow releasing.
Yeah.
It's amping up. Okay.
She can turn it off or activate it. She's not totally in power, which is like a human. As you get attacks, Gaia gets attacked, as you know. And she can't always, she's not, like a category 5 hurricane. She's not. Sometimes she can't stop it. There are times when she gets blocked herself. It's just like, it gets complicated. That's why many of you are here to heal Gaia.
That's fascinating, though. And could we hear a bit about your Earth or your ascended Earth these days, and really like how does it look, and is there any similarities to what we're stepping into for the positive timeline Earth's going into?
Well, yes, I'm from a higher fourth dimensional Earth where they look at your Earth and it's like, how do we even get out of that?
Yeah.
It's like, how do we get out of all that materialism? It's like a web on all different levels. So, but you're going to a 5D, you're actually going into a 5D Earth, so just not aware of it. Yeah. But you still go through third dimensional problems though. So you upgrade, but also go through. But through our consciousness, it just, people, from our point of view, people just have to let go of their old belief systems and just allow themselves to be happy. A lot of them aren't allowing that. Obviously, to their work situations and family, it's hard to do that, but because they have obligations that they have to go through. It's quite understood.
Absolutely. Yeah, I totally see that. And, turning families against each other has always been the game plan, whether it's education or to do vaccines.
Anunnaki. A lot of it's Anunnaki, major Anunnaki.
Wow.
Well, they're going through that problem on their own planet. So,
yeah. I mean, this is interesting. I was talking with one of my friends. Why is Earth? I kind of know the answer, but I'd love to hear your perspective. Mm-hmm. Earth is so fascinated by the Anunnaki, even in the Awakened movement, because they think the Anunnaki are our true creators when they're not. They created slave races. So is there anything you can share from your perspective why they're doing that? Is it just to give power to their energies?
A lot of it is to sort out their own problems.
Right.
Because they can't sort out their own issues. So they brought it here. And some of them are, like some of the older female Anunnakis that just are very controlling, like a grandmother. It's like, I have these people and now they can do whatever I want them to do. Mm-hmm. Why not? Yeah. So, it's like a lot of Anunnaki groups that are spoiled.
Yeah.
And they show that here. And there's a lot of humans here are spoiled too. They do them. It's like you have some here that have wealth, they have power, they have everything, and they manipulate people. It's like, why? You can do so much more with it, but they don't know how.
And I just have to bring this up because you brought up the Anunnaki. There's a new Marvel series film coming out called The Eternals, and it reeks of Anunnaki energy because even in the trailer, they're like, we brought them maths, we brought them language, we brought them and they're all dressed in gold. And have you tapped into that?
It is a version of it. Yes, it's more of a superhero version, a soft disclosure version. There are other hidden beings that are similar to Anunnaki. Some are actually worse, that look very attractive, more attractive, like beautiful, beautiful people, and they do horrible, horrible things.
Classic, isn't it?
Yeah, those are They're not Nordic. I mean, some of them are Nordic beings, but a lot, as you see it here on your world, you see very attractive people doing things they probably should not be doing.
Absolutely, all the time. And it's, of course, people fall for it as well. Just because we are programmed, to be so, forthcoming to those people who look aesthetic. But I really want to touch on, the geometry, maybe not so much geometry, but I'm fascinated by this testimony from the Guardians. So the Guardian race that work throughout the universes to look after, and to give Earth its best chance of an ascended timeline. And they talk a lot about how through the fall of Metatron, we've had this false Fibonacci mathematics and geometry. And if we think of the Earth as almost like a Merkaba that's off kilter, hence like the pole shifts and all of the energy consumption here on Earth, our own energy, we can't even filter it and protect our auras. This seems all intertwined, that we're on this false Fibonacci spiral compared to our true energy signature. I know that gets a bit technical, but is there anything you can share from that perspective and also from your fourth dimensional side of things as well?
Well, yes, math in geometry has been used against humanity. It's part of what it's like to math is a lot of, or geometry is used to realign the DNA. It has a lot of hidden elements in it that are, yes, numbers in certain places to reprogram the human. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Of course, some are connecting to it. Sometimes they reprogram themselves or deprogram just by doing geometry.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
absolutely.
A lot of the geometry is also in the water and in the air, but you don't see it physically. Of course, you don't see numbers.
Wow.
Some might see it.
Is that one of the biggest Anunnaki, or is also a fallen angel template, I guess, from Metatron? Yeah. But is it also, when you think about that, of course, that affects our DNA. So we've gone from what I feel and what I've read from amazing sources through the Guardians, we've gone from this sometimes 24 or 12 strand DNA all the way down to 2 or 3. So that's obviously from manipulation of geometry and maths by the sounds of it.
Yes, because the human has that math in them. Not everybody does, but some do. Some people are not good at math for a reason, because they don't want to be programmed by your reality.
That's me.
Yeah. So sometimes the most basic language and the basic math is all you need. And technically it is, because the more advanced you get with numbers and words, the more programmed your reality becomes.
You're in your mind. It's simple, right?
Yeah, the mind is like it sends out satellite signals and energies to create this reality currently. So,
wow. Okay.
So those are very smart, really good at math, really good at high education, but also very third dimensional. That shows you who's keeping this reality going.
Okay. Well, fascinating. I had to touch on it because, so much is manipulated, and I got really, really interested in that because, the Guardians talk about some of these races want to pull us into what's almost a phantom geometry. They want to pull Earth into this black void and it's really, they're feeding off Earth right now through the rods and cones of the planet. So there's this connection, of course, to not just Earth, but our solar system seems like hijacked in this false geometry as well. And hence why we have all these issues, because loads of these more evolved beings, these negative, fourth density, fifth density beings know what they're doing, and they know they need to take Lucian energy rather than perpetuate it. Does that resonate with what you see? They're just constantly feeding off us for our energy.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Well, they do it, through the oceans. It's another reason why they trash the oceans, so you can trash reality's vibration. So, like, even with your places where you have all the garbage that goes, it's all basically part of the program, as you can tell. Wow. So Antarctica does a lot of clearing, a lot of that. The birds do clearing of it too, but they can only do so much. So you're going to have a renaissance of clearing the earth one day, which would be quite the sight.
I can imagine. Yeah.
Clean out the oceans.
Yeah. How big is water? I mean, water in our body, Thales, the Greek philosopher, always said water was the original thing, the original source of creation can change in all these states. So I guess that's probably where we'd start, right, in the oceans. And it's something that's fascinating because we can all, if we look at it, there are two things in my eyes we can all relate to: is our earth, protecting our earth and almost saving it, and secondly, hope. Hope is something that the most common man has through to the most elite mans, if they have the right sort of integrity. It's something we can all bond on. So do you see a big event coming up in the next maybe 3 to 4 years, maybe 10 years, where everyone comes together to change the earth, to heal it?
Well, it takes time for that. They have to find out that they have problems here on a global scale. It's seen but still covered up. Even those that are part of the environment, they're not really going deep into the environment. Like the corruption within the governments, it's not being released. Like the scandals are not being unlocked. When I start to unlock, then you can heal your earth.
I totally agree. I think that has to be the priority. And, the environment I'm all for it, but it gets hijacked as well. People use it to deflect, and I see that all the time with the elites, actors, you name it. It's really frustrating. And they make nations give away billions of their money, just to go into this BS campaign. So that's interesting. And I want to touch on as well, what are your thoughts? Is there anything you can share with us for like activating our DNA? I'm very interested again in this Tyrannosaurian angelic race that was here on Earth, one of the co-founder races, along with Lyrans and many other beings. Is there anything we can do, that allows us to move towards that DNA activation? Would be the best version of ourselves?
Well, it's just living healthy, really, the best of your ability, and just having the mind that you feel is right. It can be angry at times, of course. It can be just where you can find a moment of zen, peace. But get through everyday life and say what you need to say. But at the end of the day, you just you don't have any hard feelings towards anyone, which is not easy. But basically, for you to find your moment within yourself. So it's just finding inner peace. That's really not worry about the rest of the world. Just work on, which is easier said than done for so much.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so much distraction and so much energy manipulation as well, especially when a lot of it we can't even see, which is the hardest thing for a lot of people. They're not even conscious of their emotions creating these leakages in their auric fields, allowing other beings to manipulate them. So it gets complex, but I agree with you, being simple, being stoic, and just having a nice grace about life, and how you just having a lot of gratitude. But I'd just like to go back, and we don't want to be here too much longer because I think we both have to go, but it's been so amazing talking with you. And is there any other advice, any other big events that are coming through now that you can share? Anything you want to share at all?
Well, the big event this year is a turning point in many years to come. Yes, your governments will find renewal. We see governments transforming in your future when the time is right, but not yet. No. Some are still learning through the program, but
going from big government to small government to communities, is it like a transition?
Yeah, that's the main thing. Is just government breakdown, and just agencies, not just government itself, all of it. That's the mission of your world. So there's going to be a lot of darkness when that comes down, but more self-reflection. People realize, wow, this has been going on this whole time.
And I was going to ask as well, talking about making our life more easy. I'm sure I run this beautiful soul family in cosmic crypto, and many other people who are awakened or on this spiritual evolution timeline, are into cryptocurrency. Do you guys, the reason why I bring it up, because it does make life a lot more simple. You can put your money to work for you. You can focus on your family, your passions. Is there anything like that on your earth? Do you utilize that for the financial system, or do you need money at all?
We don't have a financial system anymore. It just basically finds soul growth and just visiting in new places, and just how can you finding happiness? Your mission is to be happy. If you have a problem, you sort it out. And so it's not a control mechanism to make you be happy. It's just where you want. I mean, those that don't want to be happy, they have their place to go. But this world is so much unhappiness. They're so used to that program with that. Now it's going to be just self-fulfillment and what you can do for others, and just living the best life that you can.
Oh, so inspiring. And I also, I'm not one for talking in too much detail about ascension, because it feels like a trigger word that gets used a lot, but I see it, I see how I feel it in my bones that we are on that path for the people who are doing the inner work, who are living in harmony. and living, obviously in the law of one, they talk about it being in 51% amount of your energy is used for service to others and just being positive, which is a nice, simple outlook, even though it's a statistic at the end of the day. But is there anything you can share from your transition from when you went to become ascended Earth into your dimension, the fourth dimension? Did it happen instantly with those beings that hit that marker? What can you share?
Well, it is humanity willing to change. It's kind of have like a Martin Luther King type of movement, but not exactly the same. But many movements just, because Martin Luther King put a lot of positivity. Some might think differently, but from what we see, it's, that's a good example of just not wanting to fight anybody. What others want to fight, it's like, we're not going to fight. And just, words of love. And that'll help you, because people are going to have trouble releasing the job mentality. Of course, many are okay with that, but then they don't do anything with themselves. Yeah. They say, I'm not going to go to work, and that's okay, not doing anything with yourself. But, well, what do you have within you that you can explore? It's there. So that's what happens when you get to ascended Earth. Some don't want to discover themselves, they want to have vacations, which is fine, but then some of their talents, some of them actually lose their talents because they're not doing anything with them.
Yeah, I've heard that too. I've heard that in other timelines, that it's almost too utopian and idyllic, where they just have no drive. They have no drive to evolve spiritually or with their creative talents and their passions. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. And I've got to ask, do I first of all have any twin selves in your ascended Earth?
Many of you are there. Well, many of you are in a higher frequencies, higher than fourth dimension assisting, but you're on other places assisting those worlds. And some of you are worlds that are more dense than this one. If you can understand this one, why not go to one that's more dense? Some of you are doing that, not everybody.
Wow. Interesting. Okay. And I have this meditation that one of my teachers sent to me as well, which is so powerful for connecting with your alternate or twin selves, as they're called. Do you feel that's something I should share with the group? And do you think it would have profound effects in reconnecting us with our other aspects of our soul?
Yes, you can. Yeah. Where you feel is comfortable. Some aren't ready for that type of information, but yeah, you just have to feel it out. Yes.
Yeah. It's fascinating, and it's super positive as well. And, I've learned a lot from meeting some of my twin selves. I find it fascinating how we're all fractals sharing the same, higher self or oversoul as well, which is really cool. But thank you once again. And is there anything else you'd like to share? Just because this seems like a pivotal moment in time where I want to dig as far as we can for this session.
Well, it's just letting humans be themselves. I mean, if you need to go into a panic growth, that's fine, but realize you can also find peace if you wanted to. But many are worried about the future, and they're not always worried about themselves, healing themselves. They don't focus on themselves, they focus outside. So yes, Afghanistan is just free to focus there, not you. So that's what a lot of that's about. It's like, oh no, I can't believe that's happening. That's not going to affect many people here. I mean, a lot of places it's not going to affect. But what is it around your world that's affecting you now? Is it family? Is it the job? Where's your Afghanistan?
Well said.
Someone's like, I'm over here, but what's happening in my world? It's like, oh, whoa, I didn't notice those people are manipulating me from work and things like that.
So. Yeah. And do you think, last question as well, that like video vlogging privately or writing down in your journal, sometimes speaking all your darkest emotions or, any memories you want to clear or any past life things, do you think that's profound, doing that work for yourself and keeping it private?
Well, yes, releasing darkness, but also you also write, I want to be healed. I want to connect to the light. I want to revoke any manipulations. I want to, clear myself. I want to go to my highest level. You can write that down. That would probably have more, because when you do that, just do the positive, the darkness will find its way to let itself go.
Interesting. Yeah. I find it's a bit of both, right? It's revisiting those places, but from a constructive, almost like a third person perspective. So when I look back at my childhood, super positive, but there are things that obviously programming and, systems in place. And I just look back and it's like looking at another person. And like you said, putting a positive affirmation on it.
Yes. So,
Perfect.
all right. So blessings
Thank
to
you
you.
so much. Thank you. Blessings.